City Council for Thursday, July 30th, 2020 to order. Obviously a couple of very quick and issues that needed to be dealt with, and summertime, sometimes that happens to us and we want to be nimble when we can be. So our first order of business is correspondence 2.1. We have a memo from the Dawson Creek Exhibition Association. So if we can have a motion for discussion. Councillor Earl, second Councillor Kemp, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. Blair?
Your Worship, thank you. As a result, we have entered into an agreement with the Exhibition Association. It is now a year old. Part of that is when they are doing work on behalf, really, of everybody down at the exhibition grounds and so on. Part of what's required is they put forward their work, and whether it's a building, new building, what they're doing. And council is to look at that and give their approval for it. And they put it forward through Ross. We met with Connie and just the other day, and we said that, look, they let us know they were doing this. And we said, gee, you have to, make sure you get it into us right away. This was time sensitive, so that's why it's on today's agenda. We are lucky that we were having a meeting. This will help them time-wise to get it, but I think we have a better understanding. It's a relatively new agreement. I think there's some things we're working through to make sure they understand what the requirements are from council's perspective, and Ross, who is the administrator of that contract, is the lead on it. So that's what you see before us. They have requirement for two things here. Really, the building, they are going to do a building down there. You see what has been submitted for your review today, as well as we have an agreement to provide revenue to them to host the fair. There was a discussion earlier with COVID. They had to make a call to not host the fair as a result of what we're facing with this pandemic. But they have invested a great deal of time and effort down at the grounds. They can't just let the grounds go for a year. So we have a request for dollars as well. Will we release the revenue? It's $125,000. We talked to them. They didn't indicate that they needed it, nor did we say that much would be available for this year. But they did put forward an amount for us. We think that in the discussions we had with them, there were $68,000 spent to date. More work to do, so it's really a question of council's comfort as to where that number should be for this year. They've always put a great deal of effort in for us down there, and the work and money they put in as an asset on behalf of the residents of our community. So, Ross, anything I've missed on that?
I don't think so. I think the contribution agreement does speak to hosting that event, which is not taking place. But Blair's comments, they are doing some work out there. They still have to mow the lawn. They've got to plow some snow. So there is some work that they've undertaken, and they've given us a budget and kind of outlined what's been done to date. So I think they were amicable to reduce the amount. They've given us the amount of $68,000 is the money they spent to date. So.
Yeah, I think honestly, to me, the agreement that we made was maintenance, there's utilities, and for that, throughout the year, these volunteers work the year to put on the event, and that was I think the basis of that agreement that I think council wanted to ensure we had put forward. And so it's an important amenity, it's an important infrastructure, it's an important event to our community, and so kudos to them for continuing to build the infrastructure, improve it, and appreciate you guys taking the time to meet with them. Councillor Javekov?
Your Worship, I did say that we met with Connie. Murray was also there as well. I just want to make sure. So who does a great deal down there for the Exhibition Association and all of us as well. So.
Awesome. Thank you. Councillor Javekov?
So we're committed to provide them, I think, $120,000 for capital.
125 is their agreement we have with them.
For the capital?
For the entire year, for them looking after
No,
maintenance.
I mean the 120 was an amount that we agreed in the agreement for improvements for capital, and then 125 was for the exhibition for the fall fair. I'd make a motion that we provide them $75,000 for the fall fair, considering, well, I can speak to it if we get a seconder.
Thank you. Do you have a seconder?
I'll second it.
Thank you. Go ahead.
So when they're actually putting on the fall fair, there was a lot of work to do on the track and the infield there with grading and sand and watering and all that stuff that they don't have to do this year. So considering that, plus the fact that they've already spent 68,000, I think 75,000 contribution would be reasonable. And that's in addition to the 120 that we're already committed to for capital.
Blair?
Your worship, just, it's 150 is the capital contribution.
Oh, it's 150? Oh,
Just
okay,
for
sorry.
clarification.
Councillor Earl?
Thank you, Worship, and through to staff. Just for a bit more clarification for myself. So the 150 is capital for this year. And
Yes.
I believe there was a 3-year capital allotment as part of the agreement. Ross?
Yeah, through your worship, thank you. Yes, there's $350,000 yet to the end of this term. 150 is this year.
And just one quick follow-up. So the 125 annual stipend for operating the facility, they mentioned they've spent or costed out $68,000 up to the end of June, as per this memo. Did they give you a ballpark figure of what the expected remaining amount is for the year? And this agreement is January to December, like calendar year, or when
Yeah.
does it roll over annually?
I believe we have a calendar year agreement with them. I can tell you, they have to date, there is still some track maintenance that they put in there, whether it is that. There is a number of things, grass mowing, they've had snow removal, they've incurred already and will incur again, because they do have to keep part of that open. There is the roads down there. You have following through the West Nile spraying as well, an important part of what goes on down there. I'm just trying to go through the list from our discussions. Track weed spraying as well, West Nile spraying, as I said, the track maintenance. So the list is fairly long. Part of what happens is there's stuff that goes on that we don't see on a day-to-day basis. We go down there, their work is year-round. I say year-round, most of their work is in the summer, but as I said, the snow removal, for instance, they're responsible now for that under this. We used to contribute, all of that is in-kind services to the facilities and the Exhibition Association down there, and now that's on theirs under the lease we've rented, or agreed to it.
Go ahead.
Sorry here. I ask a question there.
Just going to have Councillor Earl finish, and then I'll get to you, Councillor Parslow.
Yeah, the reason I asked that was just with 68,000 already spent for the first half of the year. I'm wondering, is the 78 to 75,000 proposed by Councillor Bedcock going to be sufficient? I understand fall fair isn't happening this year, much to everyone's disappointment for reasons beyond their control, beyond anyone's control, and I certainly don't want to hamstring them. I understand that it's reasonable that will result in reduced costs, and the fact that they've expressed some willingness to pass those along to us is laudable. I just want to make sure we're not going to be undermining their ability to maintain the grounds and believe that in future years with 75,000.
All right, through your worship. So, and I'll just, so committed or spent to date was the 68,000. That is the number they put forward. The motion is for 75, so it will more than meet. It will allow them to do some things down there. So this, the request when we met with Connie and spoke about this as well as Murray, is that the 68 was going to cover that need. The motion is 75, so it isn't that they're going to have extra money, because I know they'll find a use for it and put it to good use down there. So.
Okay.
Sorry, thank you. Councillor Parslow?
Thank you. So just two questions. I assume the snow removal is for mitigating flood and for fire protection?
I believe fire is a key issue down there, and access.
Thank you, Your Worship, and they also do a Christmas function there.
Yes.
In the 4-H building, I believe.
Yeah. Thank you. And I was wondering if our agreement, listening to the tenor of the conversation here, if our agreement should be adjusted. because the agreement talks about 125,000 if there's actual full fare. It seems that we're talking about here ongoing maintenance things that we are paying here. Are we prepared to do this every year? I mean, who knows how long COVID is going to last? And should the agreement be adjusted to, we'll give them so many $1,000s to support the maintenance of the facility and the grounds, and so much if there's actually a full fare?
Blair?
Your worship, I think at this time, I'm not sure we would need to alter this lease. It was 15 years in the making. And I say that in jest a bit, but there was no agreement for many years. We were able to reach this. I'm not sure the need is there, Councillor Parslow, at this point. I think it may be a discussion should COVID continue and we reach or find ourselves next spring in a position where the fair wasn't going to be hosted again. But again, I'm going to remain optimistic that we're going to see some resolution to this pandemic that we're in, if not in the near future, but hopefully within the year. I could be wrong, but if they're not able to host it, I think by mid-spring, early spring next year, if that's the case, we will be back having that discussion again with Mayor and Council. Ross, would that be?
Agree.
But it seems to me that some of these things that you guys have been listing is a sort of annual maintenance things, such as, let's say, weed control, okay, fire protection, that will be ongoing things regardless.
Yeah, the amenity, the infrastructure is so important to us for the event, and that whole event sport tourism strategy. That's one of the anchor events in the community. And as we did the STEAM analysis on those events of $2 million in economic benefit, but if the event doesn't proceed, then it could jeopardize in the future if any one of the segments cause it to falter. Then the whole society and the whole volunteer group of the exhibition and Stampede organization, it may look different in the future. And I think it's going to be a fluid process in 2021 for us in terms of getting through the year and see if there is an event, or if there isn't, and what that means to our contract and agreement with them.
But it seems to me like we own the property well, and we obviously want proper weed control and maintenance of our facilities. So they're doing this work for us, so that it's like a fee for service. It's just occurred to me that I don't think optimistic perspective is there, but regardless, they're doing something that we do anyway. It just occurred to me listening to the discussion before I started verbalizing what I was thinking.
Yeah, I think that, and it's a good point. What if there was no event? If there is no event, what does that infrastructure look like? And what are the future of the maintenance and all the costs that the city would look to maintain and operate that facility and whatever it may look like in the future? And I guess that's an unknown at this point, because we don't. Right now, we're anticipating there's going to be an event in 2021.
Yeah. No, you summarized it nicely.
Yeah, good. Thank you. Further discussion? So the motion we'll need then is to authorize administration to enter into discussions then and finalize and formalize an offer of $75,000 to the Exhibition Association.
Your worship, I think it is to grant the $75,000 to them. I think that's all we need.
Yeah.
It is because of the lease and the commitment of 125. We're
Yeah.
saying there's no fare. The motion says we're still providing $75,000. So
Good.
if the motion passes, the $75,000 will go.
Okay,
to The exhibition.
perfect. You're right. We did have a motion. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Oh, sorry, Ross, you had a comment?
Sorry, thank you, Your Worship. Also, there's a request to make an addition, renovations to a couple of those buildings there.
We can. Yeah.
And so we'll do that by.
I think a separate motion.
Separate
we can
one?
deal with that.
Okay. Okay. All those in favor? Opposed?
Very well.
Carried. And then the second piece to it is they want to do those additions to the facilities and grounds down there, and so are you looking for direction from?
Yeah, so under the lease, there is a request that the owner would approve their requests. It's really, I mean, to keep us informed so that mayor and council, for Ross administration, to know what's going on down there. So what they presented is they have a building that they would like. It's going to be, it's out, that it's good on, is the successful bidder on it, as in item 1 on the memo. So there are a couple of things. They also would like approval. They are putting a new announcer's booth on top at the rodeo grounds. So that again will be built and put up there. They are ready to submit their building permit for that. And the third thing is they are in the process about to start redoing under the grandstands, the blasting it and repainting it. So those are the three. You'll see a picture of the building that was included that will be going up. That is the one. Unfortunately, we don't have a picture of the announcer's booth, which is the rodeo announcer's booth. Anybody that's been there knows that the old ones were 2 buildings that were put together up on the top, pulled together. They have plans for a new one that will be built, and they're in with our department, or going to be within the next day.
Good.
And then again, the third request, very simple, is to blast underneath the grandstands and get those repainted for protective purposes.
Good. So a motion that council direct administration to proceed with the approval of the additions down to the grandstands and or down to the grounds and as per the memo.
Yes, that would work.
Moved by Councillor Parslow, second Councillor Earl. Discussion. And it's great, and I think it's great, right? It's, you know, that addition to the cow barn is a real good addition down there. And certainly that announcer's booth and all of that stuff is well past its time, and so it's all very positive improvements. Councillor Javekov?
I think it's worth noting that these buildings, you won't build them for 150,000, so they're making a substantial contribution on their own. So
absolutely. And in partnership, and noted in the memo that we got $50,000 through the Peace River Regional District Economic Development Function, and we've been able to get some support from our region and other community partners, neighboring communities who have participated in that. So that's another real benefit to see the build of that infrastructure through the support of the region as well. Any further discussion, comments? All those in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Thank you. Item 3 is reports. 3.1, we have a report number 2146 from the Deputy Corporate Officer regarding our 2020 by-election of our Chief Election Officer appointment. So I think Cindy maybe if we can have a motion just for discussion. Councillor Earl, second. Councillor Kemp, all in favor? Opposed? Carried. So Cindy or Blair, do you want to give us an update on why we're here? And
Okay, Cindy, go ahead.
Through your worship, we had a motion done July 20th that was passed by council to appoint the chief election officer and Sabrina and I as the deputy chief election officers. And in accordance with the act, your voting date must be set no later than 80 days after the date of the appointment. However, it was interpreted as and calculated as no less than 80 days. So we just need to rescind and reappoint the exact same motion and people and make it effective today.
okay, so we rescind the original motion made on
Yes.
July 20th, 2020?
Yes, it was made 9 days too early.
Okay.
Yeah.
So motion to rescind report 2146, and that motion to be rescinded. Motion, move Councillor Earl, second. Councillor Kemp, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? It's carried. And then the following motion now, item 2, is effective July 30th, Brenda Ginder be appointed as its Chief Election Officer and Cindy and Sabrina be appointed as deputies. Further, that Saturday, October 17th be designated as general voting day for the by-election. So we need that motion. Councillor Earl, second. Councillor Kemp, discussion. And it's purely an issue of the dates that we needed to ensure lined up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, great. Any further discussion? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And any other business administration? Anybody?
Nothing for this meeting, Your Worship.
You're not gonna get us again. We're all gonna be gone on holidays for months and months.
We'll cover for you.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Motion to adjourn. Councillor Earl, Councillor Kemp, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Thank you, administration. Thank you,
All
staff.
right, thank you.